The local pension board meeting. My name is Samantha Jenkins. I'm Democratic Services Officer. First item on the agenda is election of chair for the 2025-2026 municipal years. Can I have nominations, please?
Can I nominate Ian Guy? But can I just say before we move to any sort of vote, can I just record my thanks to the officers and the other members of the committee for the help and support they've given me over the last year during my year as chair. So on that basis, I'll nominate Ian to be the chair going forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that nomination, please?
Yes, I'm happy to second Ian's nomination.
Thank you. Mr. Guy, you are now chair of the local pension board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just check you can hear me, because something's gone wrong with my screen with perfect timing?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the faith you've put in me by electing me as chair. I hope I'll be able to live up to it over the coming year. And a warm welcome to this meeting of our pension board, and a particular warm welcome to the members of the public who've taken the trouble to turn up in person and for your interest in our board. So the first item on the agenda is the election of vice chair, and I'd like to nominate Councillor Doyle for that post. Would anybody second that?
Yeah, I second that.
And are there any other nominations? No. So all those in favour, I'm going to indicate. So congratulations, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you.
At this point, I'm going to have to pause temporarily because I've lost video. I've got a technical hitch here. So with your indulgence, I'm going to try. That has sorted it out. So thank you. Next item on the agenda then is apologies for absence. Do we have any?
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Rob Thomas and Simon Noel.
Thank you. Next item is any disclosure of interests. I'm in receipt of a pension from the fund, so I have a personal interest, and that's going to be in all items on the agenda. Do any other fellow members of board have anything they want to declare?
Yeah,
Yes,
I have a family member who's a member of the board, but no personal interest myself.
Thank you.
I'm a member of the scheme, so I'd have a personal interest in all the items.
Thank you. And
likewise, myself, Ian, I'm a member of the scheme and the officers too. So
member of the scheme.
Thank you. Any other officers want to declare?
Likewise, member of the scheme, I officially declare yes.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also a member of the scheme. Thank you.
Okay, I think we had a couple of simultaneous declarations there. So if anybody else wants to declare now, no. And I see that the committee officers have already circulated the necessary forms to be completed after the meeting. And I'm slipping between screens here. The next item on the agenda proper are the minutes of the last meeting, but I've been informed that 2 questions have been submitted to the board, which obviously don't form part of the agenda because we don't, as a board, have a standing item of receiving questions from the public. So before we go into the agenda proper, could I ask for some advice from our committee clerk firstly, and then our legal officer, on the constitutional way, our powers of dealing with these questions?
Thank you, Chair. Just for the record, for people who don't know me, I'm Hugh Evans. I'm the head of Democratic Service. Emails have been received asking questions of the local pension board. However, the board have no power to take action as to the decision to pass a policy regarding investing or investments, as that lies with the Pension Fund Committee. As both questions fall outside of the remit of the board, they will be forwarded to the chair of the Pension Fund Committee, the leader of the council, and the Deputy Chief Finance Officer for consideration, and then obviously a response from those will be sent to the questioners. Thank you.
Okay. Our legal officer, do you have any legal advice to add to that?
Yes, I've checked the terms of reference to the board, and the Democratic Service Office is correct. The correct remit for it is the Pension Funds Committee, who have the power regarding investments, so it's appropriate they're sent to that particular forum.
Okay, and can I just check that advice is the same in regard to both questions which have been submitted?
It is, yes.
Very well then. Well, if it's outside our terms of reference, and indeed we don't have a standing item, regrettably, I don't see how we can deal with it today. Nevertheless, the correspondence will be responded to, and will receive a reply. I've got to say, particularly the first item is a hugely important issue, and hugely topical. And I think it's one that has raised its head previously with us. So that correspondence will be responded to. The next item on the agenda, as I alluded to, are the minutes of the previous meeting on pages 1 to 3 of our pack. And if we go through those, if anybody wants to stop me to make any points, I'm looking at paragraphs 25 and 26. You'll have to call out if you want to stop me because I'm on the paper screen. Paragraphs 27 down to 30 and paragraphs 31 to 34, which brings us to the end of the minutes. Any matters arising from those minutes? Any corrections? No. So would somebody like to propose them as a correct record? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. So we move those minutes are a correct record. All in favour? Thank you. I see a show of hands, and nobody against or abstaining. So I'll sign those as a correct record. Next item on the agenda is the proposed audit plan of the pension fund. And Mr. Dong, are you going to deal with that item?
Yes, I am, Chairman, with your indulgence. The report you have before you is the annual audit plan of our appointed external auditors, Audit Wales. The board are used to receiving an audit plan from Audit Wales on an annual basis, and that outlines how they intend to discharge their duties as our appointed auditor in auditing the financial statements and annual report of the pension fund. Within the report, you can see they identify some key principles and ways of working and how they plan to discharge that responsibility. One of the key ones is this idea of materiality. They're not going to look at every transaction, every investment, etc. There's a degree of materiality which is engaged in respect to the work, and the materiality levels they're proposing to engage for the 24-25 financial year is £33 million, and that's identified on page 10. There's a slightly lower reporting threshold of £1.7 million for other transactions whereby they involve key management personnel or related party disclosures. They also outline, how they're going to deliver their audit plan within the timetable. They're required to report back to Pension Fund Committee before 1st of December 2025, and you can see on page 13 an outline of their audit timetable and the work they plan to undertake. As indicated in that plan, the financial statements have been passed to Audit Wales now, and they have commenced their audit work, so that audit work is ongoing. And to date, I have nothing to lead me to understand those deadlines shan't be met. And then on page 15, they outline their audit fee that they intend to charge for this work. And as you can see, I think they intend to increase their fee by 1.7% from last year's fee. We're expecting to pay about £54,000 for the privilege of being audited by Audit Wales for this financial year. As I say, the material output of this work will be their ISA 260 report, which will identify their findings and conclusions, and both the Pension Fund Committee and the Local Pension Board will receive that report at their meetings in the autumn, currently scheduled for the November cycle of both committee and pension board to be reported to yourselves. Happy to take any questions, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dong. Any questions from that? No. Just a comment that, as you alluded to, it's pleasing to see that the price hasn't gone up significantly since last year. It's an information item for us as a board, so shall we receive that? Yes, I see indications that we receive that. And the next item is a standing item, which we'll have seen many times at the board, which is the breaches report. Mr. Dong again.
Thank you, Chairman. You're correct, Chairman. It is a standing item, and we're required, according to the pensions regulator, to report any operational breaches to those charged with government on a regular basis, which we do quarterly. And as the Chairman alluded to, the nature and types of breaches that we report to committee and ultimately the board are well worn, and board members are used to the types of breaches that are being brought to your attention. However, those who are a bit more eagle-eyed of you may notice that the quantum of one of those breaches is slightly larger than normal. Sorry, Chairman, can I beg your indulgence as well? If anyone does have any questions, if they could shout out, because I'm having to switch between screens and for access to my notes, I can't see attendees on the screen. So if you do have any questions arising as I go through, please do shout out. But those with eagle eyes will notice that the quantum of the breach reported on page 50 is slightly larger than normal. It involves one of our larger employers, and whereby the amounts which are received late tend to be trivial, in the low thousands. You can see there on page 50 that late payment received was in the region of £3.5 million. As you can see, it was only 3 days late, and we have investigated. We have contacted senior directors of the employer in question, and they've assured us they've put in remedial processes and safeguards to ensure this does not happen again. It happened because apparently this year there were 2 bank holidays in that month, and they hadn't accounted for the second bank holiday. Hence, it missed the appropriate payment date. Obviously, this employer, this is the first breach that this employer has experienced, in my working lifetime of a materiality of this size. So we're content it's not indicative of systemic woes at this employer. It's a one-off, and they've taken it seriously, and they've implemented remedial measures. So happy to take any further questions board may have on this report, Chairman.
Any questions from my colleagues?
Yep.
No. Just on that last item, only because, as you say, the quantum, were there any financial implications for the fund?
Obviously, receiving £3.5 million 3 days late, that would have been deposited in our bank account, and we would have been due and accrued appropriate interest on that in our current account. But we're talking, I think for the 3 days late, I think we're talking about £600 as such. We do have powers to levy fines and remedial penalties on late paying employers. However, in the interests of good faith and maintaining good working relationships, and for the trivial nature of the sums involved, has been deemed not appropriate at this stage, because, as I say, it is the first instance in respect of this employer, and they have taken it seriously, and they've assured us that they've put in appropriate remedial measures to prevent it happening again.
Thank you. So again, this is an information item for us. I propose we receive it unless I can see indications to the contrary. Thank you. And next item on the agenda is the item on admitted bodies. Mr. Dong again, I believe.
Thank you, Chairman. From time to time, during the last 2 or 3 years, the board will have received separate reports in relation to different schools who have determined to amend and alter the cleaning services that they engage, and determined to outsource that cleaning service to a third-party provider. Historically, the cleaning staff would have been directly employed by Swansea Council. However, upon that change, they would be across and under protected rights to this third-party employer and still discharge their cleaning duties for that school. So as far as the school is concerned, it would be a seamless process in terms of their cleaning services. However, importantly, they would be dealing with a distinct and separate employer. To ensure and maintain the pension rights of those employees, it's required to admit that employer into the local government pension scheme, and as long as they satisfy the appropriate criteria and enter into the appropriate admission agreement to the satisfaction of myself and other officers, legal officers in the council, and appropriate due diligence has been undertaken on their suitability as an employer. This trend has grown more fashionable, shall we say, then if I use that analogy, that's a trend, and more schools are determined that's the best way for them to clean their schools, engage third-party employers. So more and more schools are in that position, and we're having to admit more and more cleaning firms as admitted bodies. So noting, the quite limited governance budget of the committee and this board receiving these reports on a regular basis, it's been determined to write this overarching blanket approval from committee that should any such similar applications be received from a school and their third-party cleaning service, that having undertaken the appropriate due diligence and admission agreements, etc., by myself and the legal officers, that we can proceed and admit them as an employer within the scheme. And so, what this report, Chairman, seeks to do is seeks to get that blanket approval from committee and delegated to myself in conjunction with other officers in the authority to progress those admissions into the scheme, subject to all those checks and balances that I referred to. I can see Councillor Doyle has got his hand up, and Rosemary has as well. So I'll pause there, Chairman.
Yeah, I think Councillor Doyle was first.
Thank you, Ian. To check, I'm a governor in a school which has used this process. So does that mean I have to fill in a declaration of interest form at this point?
I would have to defer to my legal colleagues in that respect. However, I don't
that's
think
fine.
Councillor, was it one of the company's names in the report, or?
Yeah, the Mrs. Bucket, the company was, I think it was named in the report.
I think it would be a personal interest, but not a prejudicial interest, because it's just them being admitted to the scheme. So
Yeah,
personal interest will suffice. Okay.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. And Rosemary.
Yeah, I think I might have asked Jeff this question previously, but just wanted to double check. So in such circumstances where if the employer was to sort of go into administration or anything, as a result of the cost of maintaining these new employees that they took into the LGPS scheme and funding that, because I think there's different rates for smaller companies rather than the local authorities themselves. I think the percentage rate can be increased. I just wondered, is there any protection then for those members in terms of losing access to their LGPS in the long term?
You're quite right, Rosemary, in that that is one of the main considerations when assessing their suitability as an employer. And their ability to maintain and support and remit those pension contributions in respect to their employees going forward. So one of the safeguards that we have in place is that it is required that the outsourcing employer, in this instance, they're historically Swansea Council employees, so they would ultimately be the sponsoring employer in this regard. They have to provide what's known, Rosemary, as what's known as a sponsoring employer guarantee, so that should there be any shortfall or difficulty in respect of that employer, third-party employer going forward, the sponsoring employer would have to step in to the shoes of that employer and make good any contributions in respect of those employees, because the thinking being, the original employer has determined to make that decision to outsource that service, so they should guarantee that service because it's their decision to engage Mrs. Bucket. And similarly, there's the same rationale is used when, for example, our other large employers, Neath Talbot Council, for example, determined to deliver their services in a different way. We require them to provide that sponsoring employer guarantee to whatever third-party employer they would engage. For example, Celtic Leisure, for example, historically, there's a permanent sponsoring employer guarantee pertinent to that relationship.
That's
so
lovely.
there are
Thank
safeguards there, Rosemary. There are safeguards there.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, this does seem like a far more efficient way of dealing with it. If, as you say, the trend or the fashion, as you called it, is going to continue. Speaking personally, it's never good to see outsourcing of employees, but at least they retain their rights to contribute to the pension. Unless there's any further comments or questions on that, again, it's an information item for us, so I propose we receive it as for information.
Yep.
Next item's agenda item 9, an over and under payments policy. Mr. Dong.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the nature of this report is quite self-evident from the title. I would suggest, Chairman, in that it's incumbent on us to have a relevant and operational overpayment and underpayment pension policy. Obviously, as well worn and well communicated to board, everyone's personal circumstances are different and they change constantly. no one's pension is exactly the same as everyone else's. So mistakes do happen. People unfortunately die, and that's not communicated to us, and we continue paying that pension to the pensioner post mortem, and we need to have a policy and a mechanism to recover those funds in an appropriate way. However, sometimes it's not economic to do so, and this policy sets out some instances of when discretion will be exercised, etc. And similarly, underpayment. How we propose to remedy when inadvertently, because of a mistake, we've underpaid a pension to a member. It's not exhaustive. I'm sure there'll be instances where the policy doesn't cover the circumstances that are in existence, but it's a starting point, and it's proposed to be a live document to be reviewed on a regular basis. As these situations arise, we can amend appropriately.
Thank you. Any questions, comments arising out of that? I see none. Just one question from me. I noticed the fund uses the Tell Us Once service. Does experience show that that's a pretty prompt passing on of information? I see you nodding. That's fine.
Yeah, it is. Both Neath Talbot Council and Swansea Council operate Tell Us Once. And yeah, since its inception a number of years ago, it has worked quite well, and that's overlaid then with mortality screening that we do. We use a third-party mortality screening service, which looks through our database and our records to check and scans mortality databases across the country to see if, because obviously, some of our members, not all of our members, continue living in the Neath Talbot and Swansea area. They're scattered to the four winds. So we use that mortality screening service, which is nationwide to cross-reference, death records and mortality records elsewhere.
Thank you. And again, speaking for myself, it was very pleasing to see the sensitivity that is taken into account in that policy, taking account of hardship, significant distress, etc. That was good to see. Unless there's anything anybody wants to add, again, this is an information item, so I propose we receive it. Yes. And moving on to the next agenda item, that is the Welsh Pension Partnership Fit for the Future business case. Again, Mr. Dong.
Thank you, Chairman. This report before you, Chairman, has made its way in front of committee who have approved it, and also in this instance, it was determined appropriate to report to full council, which I did on the 3rd of July. Although this council's constitution delegates pension fund matters to the pension fund committee, it was determined that the contents of this report and the recommendations were so momentous and material to the operation of the fund that it was determined appropriate that we report to council as well. This was consistent with our partners in the Wales Pension Partnership. The 7 other administering authorities in Wales did likewise. They all took this report, this exact same report, which I wrote to their councils throughout the month of July as well, and noting some of the audience members in council perhaps aren't as au fait with the operation of the scheme. It was determined appropriate to knock up a presentation alongside it, Chairman. So with your indulgence, and if you're so minded to, I'm happy to go through that presentation, or we can just talk about the report.
Speaking for myself, I'd be extremely interested in seeing the presentation. Can I just check with my fellow members, though? Yes, I see approval.
Thank you, Chairman. If I just share my screen now.
Yes, that's being shared.
Great. You'll notice, Chairman, in accordance with the Welsh Language Act, it's in Welsh as well. So these slides will be side by side. You'll have the English on the left-hand side and the Welsh version on the right-hand side. So as I say, Chairman, some of the audience in council were not as familiar with the work of the local government pension scheme. So just a bit of background about the LGPS in England and Wales. It's the largest funded public sector scheme in the UK. There's just under 7 million members, over 15,000 employers, and approximately just under £400 billion worth of assets in total. And that fund, although it's one scheme in terms of the rules and the governance around it, which is administered from Westminster, it's administered separately by 86 separate administering authorities, of which Swansea is one. The LGPS in Wales is slightly smaller, obviously. We've only got about 412,000 members in Wales, 312 employers, including all the 22 councils in Wales. And in total, we have £25 billion worth of assets. And as I say, that's administered by the 8 administering authorities in Wales. So that's Cardiff, Carmarthenshire, Flintshire, Gwynedd, Powys, Rhondda Cynon Taf, Swansea, and Torfaen. This is just some of the because I was talking to council chairman, just and their delegation of powers to the committee just indicated the membership of the committee there, and as you can see, the local pension board representatives at that committee, because you do have attendance rights at full committee as the local pension board reps. That's just yourself and Councillor Doyle at the bottom there. So what about Swansea ourselves? We've got just over 50,000 members, and they're broken down. You can see there between active members, i.e. people still working, contributing to their pension, and pensioners and deferred. And as previously communicated, despite the pensions envy, which is rampant in the popular press, average pension and payment in Swansea is £5,000 per annum, and the identikit member in our fund is approximately a 48-year-old female part-time worker. That's on average. As I say, we don't just administer the scheme for Swansea councils. A whole number of employers that you can see there, ranging from Swansea Council, Neath Talbot Council at the top there, Gower College, the university, Trinity St David's, right down to the employer referenced by Councillor Doyle earlier on, Mrs. Bucket, or I don't know if they do actually call it Mrs. Bouquet. I don't know, but yeah, Mrs. Bucket or Mrs. Bouquet, who are very, a very small number of employees. Compared to some other administering authorities, we don't have that many employers, because in England, for example, with the introduction of academies, for example, their list of employers runs into the hundreds, because each school then would be a separate employer within the scheme in England. Obviously, as I say, the report for this year is being audited. So these stats you've got before you are in relation to the previous financial year, and as you can see here, the progression of the funding level for the fund. Despite my boyish good looks, I have been working at the council and the fund for over 20 years now, and you can see the progression of the funding level during that time. obviously, at the start of my career with the pension fund, it was all about the funding level, getting that funding level up to full funding status. It was about maximizing investment returns. It was about doing whatever you could to get that funding level up to 100%. And as you can see, we're very fortunate enough to have attained that status in March 2022, when at that valuation, as you know, we're required to have a valuation every 3 years to assess the financial adequacy of the fund, and we were pleased to announce that we attained 100% funding status in March 2022. And similarly, you can see the very pleasing progression of asset growth during that period. As recently as 2010, the fund was 71% funded and valued at just over £1 billion, whereas now, at the 31st of March, as previously reported, Chairman, we're due to receive the results of the triennial evaluation in the autumn of this year, and it's projected that it's going to be well in excess of 100%. And asset values are going to be approximately about 3.4 to 3.6 billion. And is that a question of a rising tide raising all ships? I would suggest no, because Swansea has performed particularly well compared to its peers, as can be seen in this slide. It's the number one ranked fund in the 3 years to 31st of March 2024, returning over 14%, and this is just the outperformance. That equates to just over £320 million more than the average LGPS fund during the period. So that's how much additional return that Swansea Fund has returned over the average during that period. It was also the number one ranked fund in the 5 years to 31st of March 2025, and over the longer term, it's the number two ranked fund in the 10 years to 31st of March 2025. And pleasingly, the number four ranked fund in the longer period to 20 years, which, as I say, is sort of contemporaneous with when I started work with the fund. So over all periods, we can demonstrate continuous improvement and relative to our peers, acceptable performance. As I say, historically, that was the main focus, providing and maximizing those investment returns for the benefit of the fund and our employers. Because don't forget, members' benefits are unaffected by any of the issues or the report in front of you. Those are guaranteed by statute and not affected by the report or the proposals in front of you. But along with that transition and journey to full funding allowed the committee and the board, because it was a very collective process, to start considering other investment objectives that they may have. One of them being trying to incorporate net zero targets for the investment portfolio. And the fund was one of the very first LGPS funds to incorporate a net zero target, and it set a very ambitious target of net zero by 2037. And board and committee would have received periodic reports on our progress to achieving that. Obviously, the early days, we reported great progress, the easy wins, the low-hanging fruit. However, to meet that net zero date will become a lot more challenging as we get into the stickier, more esoteric asset classes like property, like infrastructure, etc. However, it's still a commitment of the fund and the committee, and is reflected in some of those allocations that I'll be talking about on the next couple of slides. Again, similarly, as well as net zero, the committee and board expressed a desire to have more exposure to local investment and impact investments, if at all possible, if they were appropriate and provide an acceptable level of investment return. Why not have that capital deployed locally, where it made a difference for local stakeholders. One such example is, and I know a number of board members went on the site visit to this site. It's a biomass plant down the road in Margam, which burns efficiently waste wood, which would otherwise be destined for landfill, and produces energy, creates clean electricity for the local community. And compared to a gas-fired power station, it produces 60 grams of CO2 per megawatt hour as opposed to 350 grams of CO2 per megawatt hour. So again, accretive to that net zero ambition on a relative basis. And also importantly, in this consideration, it employs 35 local people permanently on site, but also an extra 50 people employed in the supply chain of that waste wood. And you know, just to clarify what I mean by waste wood, it's waste wood which would, you know, like old kitchen carcasses and construction industry waste wood, which otherwise would have to be dumped into landfill, which again emits CO2, but now is burnt efficiently via this plant to produce electricity efficiently and relatively cleanly. This next one, it's a very recent deployment of capital. Again, the committee and board expressed a great desire, if at all possible, that the fund could assist and help in the housing shortage in the locality. And the committee made a commitment in partnership with Newco Capital to deploy £50 million in the Swansea and East Port Talbot area to provide affordable and social worker and key worker housing, social infrastructure and social care infrastructure. What do I mean by those last two categories? Things like medical centres, social care homes, assisted living homes, etc. So the legal due diligence has finally been completed on that fund, and we're in discussions with Newco about the deployment pipeline. And as you can see in the little map there are a number of sites throughout the East Port Talbot and Swansea area whereby some of that affordable housing can be sited, and pleasingly it's quite fairly distributed throughout the East Port Talbot and Swansea areas. In fact, one of the first sites, I think, Chairman, within the pipeline is proposed to be in Port Talbot, so you'll be pleased to hear. Again, some of the awards and recognition that the fund has got in respect of the work it's done, and now we move on to the main content of the report, pooling, and the changes proposed by the report in front of you. The original pooling program started in 2017, and as I say, there are 86 administering authorities in England and Wales responsible for a local government pension scheme, of which Swansea is one. And we were mandated back in 2017 by the then Chancellor to coalesce those underlying funds into greater, larger pools of capital, and on a voluntary basis. At that time, it wasn't mandated or explicitly, we weren't explicitly told who we would have to pool with. So quite logically, the 8 funds in Wales pooled together to form the Wales Pension Partnership. And on this diagram, you can see the other pools that emerged at that time, and there were 8 in total, largely geographic in inception, except for a number of oddities like Borders to Coast, who were a bit spread out, and LPP, who are quite geographically dispersed as well. So, as I say, the Wales Pension Partnership consists of the 8 Welsh funds, that, as you can see there, and since 2017, it has been largely successful in delivering the objectives of pooling, delivering the economies of scale, driving down costs, exercising our greater buying power in the market, and importantly, as far as government was concerned, actually pool those assets, have them managed centrally via the Wales Pension Partnership. So as we stand now, over 75% of those assets have been pooled and sit within that pooling arrangement of WPP. And as you can see, there's a website should you be interested in finding out more and reading more about the work of WPP. But similarly, the work of WPP has been very successful to date, and again, it has considered its wider and more environmental social governance objectives when deploying the capital on behalf of the 8 schemes. This is a very local collective investment that WPP have recently committed capital to. It's via the WPP Infrastructure Fund managed by GCM and Quinbrook, and it's a battery energy storage system based in Newport, 230 megawatt energy capacity battery storage facility. As you know, renewable power is quite cyclical and ad hoc depending on when it's sunny or when it's windy. So to ensure continuity of supply, you need battery storage, energy storage, and this is what that facility seeks to do. It's built on the site of a repurposed coal fire station, and had up to 300 construction jobs whilst it was in its construction phase. And as you can see in that photo down there, the pensions minister came down to visit the asset whilst it was in construction, along with the chairs of the pension fund committees back in April. Similarly, a housing project based in West Wales, again affordable housing. This is slightly different to the new core model and the Swansea model that we've adopted locally, in that this is purely providing debt finance to the housing builder themselves. There's no equity in this proposal, but again, strong pipeline of stock to be delivered throughout Wales. And again, this one is a very interesting allocation. It's a 110 million pound investment into the UK Forestry Fund managed by Gresham House. But importantly, there's within that portfolio is a 600 hectare forest located in the Brecon Beacons, whereby they produce construction grade timber for the building industry, and whereby they plant seedlings and nurture and grow the trees, but also at the other end of the production timeline, they harvest and send them for processing at the local sawmill. If we are to meet our housing ambitions in terms of building enough homes that our population needs and requires, we need construction timber. A metric I was unaware of is that we do currently import over 80% of construction grade timber in this country. So those are some of the snapshots, Chairman, on the work of both Swansea and the WPP, which brings us up to date, really, and the consultation, which was launched in November, and I reported back in March the response to that consultation and the business case to that consultation that we submitted. And I'm pleased to say that the government signed off on our proposals for that business case, that we wanted to continue as the Wales Pension Partnership, and build our own FCA regulated investment company based in Wales for the benefit of Welsh LGPS. We thought that was highly appropriate for a mature devolved nation like Wales, and is highly appropriate for the ambitions not only of the underlying funds, but us collectively as Wales to be able to deploy that 25 billion, which I identified earlier on, for the benefit of the people of Wales, and if at all possible, deploy that capital within Wales and make a difference locally and nationally. So that business case, as I say, was successful and was signed off in May. Unfortunately, two of those pools that I identified on that pictograph earlier on have been unsuccessful. So two pools in England, the Access Pool and the Brunel Pool, have been told to disband, and they've been told the underlying funds within those two pools, 21 administering authorities within those two pools, have been told to find a new home by September of this year. So that's an upheaval in itself, and quite damaging and dislocating for all the officers and the work which is ongoing at those funds, as they have to, drop the day job and try and find a new home for themselves. But lucky to say that the business case that we presented was approved, and so now we're busy trying to meet the government's timeline of establishing the new FCA regulated investment management company by April of next year. And the report in front of you, Chairman, seeks approval from the councils and committee to delegate certain decisions to officers in the steering group and the Joint Governance Committee of WPP to progress the work that is required between now and April, and those recommendations are identified on the front of the report. I'm not proposing to go through the slides detailing the content of the business case, because the committee, the board would have received that in full at your previous meeting, but happy to take any further questions. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I'd like to share with this governance process. No. So happy to take questions, Chairman. I'm happy to leave it there.
Thank you. Questions on this agenda item? No. I do applaud the boldness of the ambition of the business plan, Jeff. Not only the local investment and the net zero, but the ambition to have a centre of excellence in Wales. I'm just looking at page 112 of the actual report, and clearly there's going to be significant startup costs in the short term, but with gains in the medium to long term. Are you able to put any figures on what's meant by the medium to long term for those gains to be seen?
I would suggest three to five. I would suggest, in the medium term, to get first year establishing, second year, BAU, and then the third year, start identifying improvements and efficiencies. Perhaps it is. Make no mistakes about it, Chairman. It is a huge undertaking. I mean, the pools have that experience in England, the ones who did establish FCA regulated companies. And so we're heavily engaging with them and learning from their mistakes that they made during that time, because it was a new undertaking for them as well. Hopefully we have the benefit of that as well. And the LGPS community is very open and sharing in that regard. And we haven't been shy of offers from the other pools for help and assistance where required. It's only ourselves and the Northern Pool are in that position of having to build their newly required FCA regulated companies from the ground up. Obviously, all the other pools who had the nods already adopted that model from 2017.
Thank you. That's very pleasing to hear. Unless there are any further comments, questions. And now the next agenda item is pensions dashboard. Again, Mr. Don.
Thank you, Chairman. In any other year, the implementation of pensions dashboard would be front and centre of agenda items and focus for the year, because it is a huge undertaking, not only for the LGPS but the pensions landscape in general. But because of Fit for the Future and the IMCO, it's almost taken a bit of a backseat. But we're not immune from the legal requirements to implement pensions dashboard by October 2025, and work is ongoing to be able to deliver our obligations in respect of that. We're very lucky, obviously, the back end of the systems that we use are common to over 90% of the LGPS, and that provider is Hayward's, and they're responsible for providing the software which holds and processes and manipulates all the data that we have on our members. For example, everyone on this call who is a member of the LGPS, they have your NI number, your date of birth, your job, your salary, etc., etc., and then subsequently, the pension benefits that relate to you. The vision for pensions dashboards is that, unlike a lot of us around here, whereby we've largely been with the same employer for the large of our working careers, or have transferred our pension benefits into the LGPS as we have moved jobs, a lot of people do keep their pension benefits separate and maintain them and leave them with former employers. And during the course of careers, they have a number of pockets of pensions with different employers. And the vision is that by implementing a pensions dashboard, they can consolidate that into one little app on your phone or website access, where you can see and manage and plan for your pension in totality, instead of having to write to your former employer or write to your former pension provider. That's the vision, that's the ambition. Obviously, as the paper in front of you identifies, lots of challenges ahead to deliver that. But one of the key obligations that we had as an administering authority and a scheme manager as such is to get in place the plumbing, I'll refer to it as, that allows a pensions dashboard look through into that database and inquire whether a member has pension benefits with us, because that's the proposal really, is that if everyone who runs a pension scheme provides this sort of open architecture, open access to other pension scheme providers, so that you can look through safely, obviously, and subject to the appropriate security measures, but allows that access and inquiry to allow a member to access and find out the status of his pension benefits in totality, all on one page. So we're working nationally with Hayward's and the pension officers group, which comprises of the pension admin managers. So in our case, would be Claire Elliott, to deliver that back end for us, which would allow that. And then in time, then we would, apologies, Chairman, we would build the front end and what the commercial dashboard would look like at the front end. And as you say, as I say, this is not unique to the LGPS. All private sector pension providers have to set up a pensions dashboard. So you can see on page 16 just some of the names of commercial providers who will be launching their dashboards as well. But make no mistake, the dashboard, the LGPS dashboard, the Swansea dashboard that we provide to you will not be inferior to any of these, because of this network and look through across all pension providers, wherever you may have pension benefits lying, that you don't are unaware of it, we're required to go out and search all these other providers and pull back information in respect of that member and have it appear on that dashboard for you. Sorry, Chairman, I'm having a bit of a coughing crisis. I'm happy to stop there. Sorry.
You want to? I'm sure you are. Do just take a moment to get a drink? Yes. Excellent. Any questions or comments on this item? No, simply say it's one of those things that originally sounded like an excellent idea to reunite workers with lost pensions. The question I'd have, Jeff, is that the timescale is pretty tight. Are you confident the administering authority has all the sufficient resources to be able to meet that timescale?
One of the key factors for success in this endeavour, Chairman, is you know, the accuracy of the data that we hold as a fund.
Yes.
Because obviously, if it comes, you know, when those making those inquiries, if all the data that we held on, say, for your benefits is totally wrong, you know, when we send that back out to the dashboard, it just causes mayhem and confusion and upset and disappointment if that is wrong. So we've undertaken, not purely for dashboard, admittedly, because obviously we go through the triennial evaluation process as well, where data accuracy is critical. So we've been having an ongoing data validation exercise, and I don't want to embarrass my colleagues Claire and Nick, but our actuaries have stated again the very good status of that data. You know, it's in a good shape. So we're in you know, heading into that October deadline. We've done as much housekeeping as we can internally, and we're very much putting ourselves in the hands and faith of our third-party provider Hayward's in doing what they need to do to provide the back end functionality that will give the portal to the dashboard to communicate with us. We've got the comfort in that, you know, if we go down, 90% of the LGPS go down in not meeting those requirements, because they're the body responsible for delivering that on behalf of the majority of the LGPS. So they've got a lot invested in it. They've thrown a lot of resource at it. And as I say, Claire and Nick are on the national technical bodies that liaise with Hayward's on the progress of that, and I haven't heard anything to date which would suggest that deadline shall not be met.
Thank you very much. That's very reassuring. Unless there's any comments arising out of that, again, it's an information item, so I'd propose we receive it. I see nobody demurring, and that brings us to agenda item 12, which is a proposal to exclude the public from the remainder of the meeting, to enable us to discuss some particularly confidential and sensitive items. The reasons given for the proposal are in the report, along with some legal advice. Just pausing there, do any members of the board want to ask any questions of our legal officer about that advice? I see no. So could I ask for a proposal for the motion that we go into private for the remainder of the session? Thank you. And a seconder? I see it's seconded. I'm also in favour. Nobody against, and no abstentions. So we'll just pause there for a moment until our committee officer can confirm that we are in private.